Welcome to Exploring Fredericton Homes. I'm Bailey Lockard.
I'm Elisa Brosey.
And I'm Chris Turner.
In this episode, we'll be focusing on new home construction and energy efficiencies.
We're going to be meeting Ben Savage first, and he's a builder who understands the importance of working with energy efficient homes. So Ben, we're breaking ground in Peniac. Tell us what this build is going to be like.
It's going to be a single story with a walkout.
Right.
So we'll build it kind of into the slope of this hill. There'll be a garage on one side here, be attached to the house. So this is built to be a higher efficiency home than a normal home.
And a lot of your homes are really energy efficient. Are there extra measures that you take to ensure that they have a higher R value?
Yeah, well, I mean, R value is one part of it. That's kind of the name on your insulation to tell us what the resistance is of that. But we also do like a very good air sealing, and we get all of our houses tested. So it's not just to say, oh, this is a better house because I use this insulation. It's a better house because we've tested it. It's more airtight, uses higher quality materials, better windows, better doors,
like
better
a triple
seals.
glazed window
Yeah.
versus...
Yeah, like a triple glazed window versus a double glazed.
Right.
Doing tilt and turn doors instead of just regular swinging doors.
And in a lot of your homes, you've been using extra insulation, like well above and beyond code on the exterior of a home too, right?
Yeah, so there's different ways to do it. We like to do insulate in a way that not just makes the house perform better with heating and cooling, but also makes it last a lot longer, so it manages moisture well. So we do a lot of exterior insulation.
Right.
So the majority of our insulation is on the outside of the home, so that the actual framing of the house is heated.
Oh, wow. Were you long into your career of building homes before you decided to take the transition to more energy efficient homes?
No, I've always been interested in it, and then just as you encounter problems as you're building and you learn about other ways of doing things, and it's kind of progressive, I guess, and each one you try to build a little better, and we're to the point now where we build, at a minimum, we're at least 50% better than any code built house.
Right. And so right now I know that you have numerous projects on the go, and we're going to have a look at a few today. So when you're choosing your projects, what are the things that you look for, or what excites you about taking on a new project?
I like to build with and try out new products, and especially on the energy efficiency end, I like to get a house as efficient as possible. So it's great to see when we do a test and then see how efficient our house is and what the energy cost will be, and then be proud of that. So
what are some of the tests that really show the efficiency of homes?
Well, it's important to get it done by a third party, so we don't do our own tests, so you don't need to trust our word for it. You can get somebody else that is not associated with us to test it, and they'll come in and they'll verify all the materials that we use and how we built them. And then there's also, they do an air sealing test to see how well it's air sealed. And there's some things that are just in the way that we do things that you can't really measure on paper, but we do them as best we can. So that, and at the end of the day, the final test is on what your energy bill is.
Would you mind elaborating on an air test?
An air test is when they test how much air is actually leaking in the house. So if you have an R20 wall and you make it an R40 wall, if it has a hole down through the middle of it that can just let air through, you really haven't gained anything.
Right.
So the air sealing is very important in a home in making it energy efficient. So the air test they do is we close all the windows and doors are closed in the house, and they put negative pressure with a fan in the house, and then they measure how much air, how long it takes for the air to replace itself. Right. So how much the house is leaking at a certain pressure. So all houses are tested at a certain pressure, so that there's a baseline amount, and then it's measured in air changes per hour. So ACH is the number that you get, and we try to get that number as low as possible.
So there seems to be more people insulating their basements more for heat loss. How do you address that?
Well, we start with an ICF foundation, and we also do additional insulation above that foundation. So we usually it's an R30 wall that we have in our foundation wall. And that's something that, in the past, some of those things got overlooked, but as energy prices go up, it becomes more important to be looking at all the details of a house.
Right.
So not just focusing on one thing like your attic or your windows or your upstairs walls, but focusing on the whole building envelope, like you said, of making sure that your foundation walls are insulated properly, your floors are insulated properly, all the penetrations are insulated properly. It's kind of looking at the whole building envelope instead of just one portion of it.
Okay. So what would you do differently with basements to prevent leaky basements?
Yeah, I mean, in the past we used to just, you see a lot of the black tar just on the foundation walls, where now we do two steps. So we use a membrane that sits against the foundation wall to keep water out. We also use a delta membrane on top of that, which makes an airspace, so that even if there's pressure building up in the ground, it's not going to touch the wall, because we make an airspace that runs the whole way down the foundation. So, I mean, it eliminates a lot of the past issues that you see with leaky basements, and it also makes it for a lot longer lasting product.
So what is the membrane made out of?
So the membranes are typically like a rubber petroleum product.
Okay.
That sticks to the wall, and then secondary is like a hard plastic is your secondary membrane, but the secondary membrane is like it almost looks like a corrugated bubble wrap almost. And what it does is it creates an airspace beside the foundation, so that if you looked at the edge of your foundation and you put a light, you can see right down the side of it. And that keeps water from building pressure up against the foundation. So if any water did get in there, it just goes straight to the bottom and down out your drain pipe.
So how long have you been building homes in and around Fredericton?
Our company has been around for about 5 years, and I've been a part of building homes with other companies as well for about 10 years.
So what are some of the bigger challenges that you've been up against since starting your business?
The bigger challenges? I definitely cash flow in the pandemic's been hard. It was probably the hardest thing that has to do with the pandemic, where because you have to carry more materials for longer. So, 5 years ago you could order windows and 2 weeks later you'd have them. Where now, like when someone signs a contract with us, we have to order the windows then and then carry the cost of that for quite a long time. So we need 3 months of carrying that cost of that product all the way to, rather than just the 2 weeks of carrying that cost. So when you're doing that, plus you're doing a few houses at once and all those products, you end up needing a lot more cash flow to spread that project out.
And have you found estimating costs for your constructions with the fluctuation of the building materials? Has that been difficult?
Yeah, I mean, it's settled down a lot now, but that is a hard thing as well, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. People come and talk to you before the pandemic, hey, we're building next year, can we get a rough idea? And then they plan for that, and then the next year comes around and it's like, oh, sorry, like everything's more expensive. And it's hard to, it's for us, we have to charge more. I mean, it hurts the people that are building though, because they planned on a certain price and then it changed a lot, so it makes it hard for them. And what we try to structure our contracts better so that we can keep our prices as good as we can, and then whenever there's changes that need to be made, that we can make them carefully and with everybody at the table.
Was it challenging to build your business throughout the pandemic?
It seemed like it at first, but shortly after the pandemic, everybody wanted to build something. So I mean, we have not been short of business we turned down more people than we actually work for. So it's been easy to build a business in that sense.
How many people do you have working with you now?
There's 5 that work with me, and so we keep busy, no problem at all. And we'd be looking to hire more people too, as well as time goes on. And we don't want to hire a lot of people all at once, because it can sacrifice some of our quality and the way that we manage all our people. But we'd like to build slowly and hire slowly and keep finding good fits for our company.
So would there be something specific if somebody was considering building a new home? What is the thing that they should know? You
should know the person that's going to build it for you. Because even you can follow building codes all you want and inspections and things, but it comes down to the integrity of the person that's building it for you, to make sure that they're putting a product out that they are proud of, and not just doing the cheapest thing possible every time they come to a decision.
So how many projects would you take on in the run of a year?
We will build about 4 or 5 houses per year. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We can kind of adapt based on the need. So we can build with our guys, we can build a house start to finish. Sometimes if we're busier, we can also subcontract out our siding or subcontract out our drywall. and our painting. So depending on how many subcontractors we work with, we can kind of adjust how much work we're doing.
And what would be your ideal? How many houses would you like to build a year?
Probably 4 houses a year, probably be our ideal.
We now return to exploring Fredericton homes.
In this part of the show, we'll be meeting with Adam Renouf.
He'll tell us a little bit about how Savage Construction meets with their clients to build modern homes with modern techniques.
So right now we're at the siding stage of the house, and so you can see he's installing vertical siding, and it's a board and batten. I work in construction, and I've been doing that for the last almost 2 years with Savage Builds. I also do office-y things. Some of the things are just the plans, doing plans. I also do estimates for the company.
Oh, do you? Okay.
So yeah, we go from plans to estimates.
So if somebody wanted to go through and build a floor plan with you, how would they do that?
So you would bring your ideas, and then we have a meeting, and we go through kind of what you'd like to see, what do you want your house to look like, and then from there I'll come back and I'll kind of do a couple of different ideas and layouts. Then we send it back to you, and then we can meet, and then you would have like, I want to change this, I want to change that, and then we just keep going back and forth with that until we get what you want.
Awesome. So a lot of the houses that you guys build, they can actually customize the house according to what they want?
Any person that comes to us with ideas, they get to customize within their budget.
Okay.
They get to customize whatever they would like. They can usually they come with kind of plans off the internet, like Pinterest or whatever.
Of course.
And kind of have some ideas, and then we can take those plans and we can put them all, kind of assimilate them into one plan, and then it goes back to the client, and then they come back and say, oh, can we move this wall? Can we do that? And everything is customizable.
So do you have any programs that you use in order to actually help them visualize it? Because it can be hard saying something, but then when you actually put it together, then it can seem like something else, right?
Yeah. So we use Chief Architect is the program that we use, and it gives 3D renderings and also 2D renderings as well. And so when we give people a package with the layout, kind of the first page is like, this is what the house would potentially look like.
So do they get to pick out like certain things like the countertop or the tile or the flooring? What are some of the things that they're allowed to pick out?
You can go as expensive as you want, as inexpensive as you want. It's really your choice. Sometimes if somebody picks an obviously bad choice, we'll try to guide them into a better choice. But as far as your flooring, your countertops, your counters, your faucets, your sink, your whatever.
So do you get a big sense of accomplishment when you're walking a client from start to finish throughout customizing their home? Yeah,
it is really exciting to be able to start, sometimes they bring a piece of paper just drawn out. This is kind of what we'd like to have.
Okay.
And then to be able to walk with them through that. And we also walk with them through, we can kind of point them in to banks that we typically work with.
Okay.
We can, and so we just basically take their hand and walk through the whole process. And yeah, it's really exciting to see that going from a concept in their mind to, I just had an email last week. We sent a layout to a couple that we're hopefully going to be building with. And the lady said, oh, like, this is so exciting. I'm really getting excited about the house right now, because it was getting to a point where we kind of honed it in enough that it's actually going to look like that. She could visualize it now, and then we get to walk with them through the construction as well. And that's, I think, the benefit of what we do is you can have that first conversation with us, and then we're going to be also the ones that are building the whole thing with you, and then to give you, at the end of it all, you get to walk into a house that you helped design.
So you built your own house?
Yeah, we built our own house when we moved here. Yeah.
Oh, no way! That's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's something that a lot of people want to do, or like, you talk to a variety of people and they're like, oh, it'd be really cool to build your own house. So it was actually pretty cool. Yeah. So here they're putting on siding. As you notice, this one is now horizontal siding. So our strapping goes vertical, and you just every 16 inches or so, you're putting on a piece of siding.
What do you do for construction tasks?
Pretty well anything. So I am involved in, last week we were out laying out a foundation, just kind of staking out the ground where they're going to have to clear to dig to put our foundation in. We'll go back and I'll be a part of setting the pins, setting the footings, then pouring the concrete. Our company does really anything from start to finish, and so we'll pour concrete, we'll set up the ICF blocks, I'll frame, be a part of that. I'll be a part of laying out the walls, kind of where the windows go, where the floors go. I take part in every aspect of the build, really. Yeah. To like tiling, we do custom showers, so I've done that.
So the main thing with Savage Builds is that they focus on being energy efficient, right? Did you decide to go that route when you were building your house, or did you choose something different?
As long as the budget allowed, yes. So some of the things that we did in our house, like we insulated under our slab in the basement. Okay. We increased our insulation, so instead of having kind of a code built R20 house, ours is R32. We have so we put insulation in between the studs in your wall. So a typical house, that's what they do. They put insulation in. So we put like 4 inches of insulation on the outside of our studs. And then we also put insulation in between our studs. We put more insulation in our attic. And then probably the biggest thing that I would do differently, if I could do it differently, would be I would put triple glazed windows. So they're more energy efficient windows.
Okay. Do you put decks on most houses?
Most houses today do have decks. This one's a little different. It's on the second floor, mostly because this house, as you might not know from looking outside, but the living area is primarily on the second floor. So the kitchen, dining room, living room is on the second floor of this house. So the deck is up off, but most houses today do have decks.
What is a blower door test?
So a blower door test is something we do on all of our houses, and it's to check the air tightness of your house. So essentially it puts a negative pressure in the house, and then it sees how much air is actually leaking in your house. Most houses around windows, doors, some of those things. And so we do that in all of our houses because we want to build our houses as tightly as possible. And one of the examples, our house, the one that I built for myself, we got our blower door to 0.3 ACH, air changes per hour, which is about half of what a passive house would be.
And you find that makes a huge difference on like your heating costs?
I think our typical heating has been around $200 a month for our electrical bill.
Wow.
That's our full bill with 4 kids. Whereas, I've talked to other people and they're like, oh, our heating bill is like $800 a month. But so if you make good choices while you're building your house, it will save you a lot of money down the road. Like right now, we're thinking about kind of installing solar at our house.
Okay.
And so if your house isn't using as much energy, your solar package doesn't have to be as big to get net zero, really.
So would you guys offer solar packages on homes?
We're just starting to look into the solar because the government has some different incentives to do that.
Okay.
And so we walk with clients through some of those government incentives as well and help them to know what's available to them as well.
And what are some of the rebates that the government is offering right now on solar panels?
Well, there's the Greener Homes program that you have access to some money there. I know NB Power has some grants available if you're doing energy upgrades. And then also, as of right now, the federal government also has a $40,000 interest-free, I think it's like a 10-year loan that you can use to do things like solar.
We return to exploring Fredericton homes.
In the last part of the show, we're going to meet with Caleb Savage, a seasoned electrician who is building his own home in Keswick Ridge.
Yeah, so this is a 200 amp 60 circuit panel from Square D. It's a little bigger than most panels, but that's just because there's a lot of wires in this house. I've done electrical now for 8 years. I started right out of high school and did the block program, and I've been working for a company in Woodstock for the last 6 years. And I moved down to Fredericton this year and decided might as well start my own company. So I started Savage Electric, and been working ever since. And I've been steadily growing my client base just from word of mouth, and I've been busy every day. So.
And so it's just you working under your company?
Yes, for now it's just me, but be interested in hiring someone this summer.
Yeah, and so how many hours would you say you work just on your own?
On my own, I work 50 hours a week probably.
Okay, Caleb, can you tell us what you specialize in?
Right now I do mostly residential, but I have a lot of experience in commercial and industrial. So I just really work at what comes forward to me.
And do you feel a sense of accomplishment? Because I know that you're going to be living in this house.
Yeah, it's been nice. Like, we bought the land in May, and ever since we've been here, I've loved it, and I feel very accomplished being able to build a house here.
And did you imagine this would be an ongoing reality for you from when you and your brother first started flipping to now?
Yes and no. In the beginning, I was a little skeptical, but I really started getting into the trades and really enjoyed it. So I just kept working at it, and now I own my own business. So it's been great.
So can you tell me about the personal satisfaction you feel when you get to build your own home?
It's definitely nice waking up every day and coming over here to work on something that's going to be yours, rather than just for someone else that you just sell.
So I noticed in every room that we've been through so far always has a smoke detector right at the door. So is that something you do, or is that a code regulation?
No, it is code to have them in every room in the house. I prefer putting them close to the door just in case there's a fire in the hall or anywhere. So, but there's also one in the hall and on each floor.
And is it hard keeping everything up to code? Like, what is a part of a new construction now in your line of work?
I find nowadays the code's just so much better because you have smoke detectors in every room, which increases fire safety, and you have arc fault breakers, which also increases fire safety, where it'll sense any arcing in a circuit.
So in real estate, I always see in older homes, sometimes I still have fuses, and some obviously have breakers. What's the difference to you?
I recommend people having breakers in, which that's code now anyway, but I still recommend people changing out their old panels to breaker panels, because a lot of people will put higher amperage fuses in their panel, which ends up causing fires down the road.
And so with your line of work, have you ever seen one certain thing cause a lot of electrical fires? One common mistake?
One common mistake I find is do-it-yourselfers, that they just don't put the time into actually making sure a connection's tight, and then you get a little loose connection, and then a year later it burns down your house. So that's what I find the biggest problem, is do-it-yourselfers.
And just another question for you, when you guys do flip, what is your starting process with the electrical in the building?
The electrical for me, depending on the age of the home, if it's any more than 40 years old, usually I just rewire the whole house. And sometimes that's easier depending on how much the carpenter is taking apart the walls. But usually it can take anywhere from a week to 3 weeks to rewire a home completely.
And do you just do that to make yourself feel better about what is going into the property?
Yes, because a lot of times, especially if the wall is closed in, you don't know what someone else did 50 years ago. So it's just better to just rewire it completely and have peace of mind that you did the right job. So.
And feel a lot better in the future to whoever buys the home, to know that everything's ready.
Yes, absolutely. I think that if I were buying a home, I'd want to know that a licensed electrician did the wiring.
Yeah, for sure. And so would you recommend to anybody that buys a newly flipped home to get an electrician to come in and just look everything over?
Yes, absolutely. I'd recommend someone at least to come in and look it over, or you can look at your permit that's usually posted beside your panel, your wiring permit.